You're steeped in the financial markets. It's been quite a rocky ride, hasn't it? Oil going to $110, $111 a barrel this morning. The Russian stock market collapsing. The ruble, the Russian currency, losing 30 or 40% of its value. What's all that doing to Russians?
Well, but also, you've lived through all of this before, haven't you? I've seen you writing about this when we had the issues over Crimea, when you had the issue over Georgia, and I suppose we've learnt as we go on how we have to react faster and sharper. We're still not fast enough, but it's interesting to see now the doors are being slammed shut. But even things like SWIFT, it took a long time for people to realise.
This international banking payment system that we're excluding Russia from now.
But even that's slightly the wrong, because it's not the clues in the name. It's a telecommunications system. It's not a payment system, because you could still actually transfer money without SWIFT. They need to go a little bit beyond that. But they're beginning to learn, because the one issue, key issue that Russia's got a problem with, cash. It needs cash. And particularly if you happen to be running a war at the same time. You maybe had all that 600 billion of cash stashed away? Yes, but not in Russia.
Their foreign exchange reserves.
So
they've been sanctioned, haven't they?
Absolutely.
Western powers have sanctioned the Central Bank of Russia, so it can't access its dollars, its pounds, its euros in order to shore up the currency and shore up the economy.
Banks always have to have a reciprocal partner in the other countries, so they can send a message one to the other, and it's the reciprocal partner bank that does the transfer, or the central bank. Freeze those dollar accounts, not that many of them, and the thing grinds to a halt immediately. Then immediately you'll find that Putin will find that he cannot afford to do this for long. Remember, it's not a strong economy. It's not a very big economy. It's just about half the size of the UK GDP, half the size of the UK economy. So if we get upset every time we fire a missile because we can't afford it, good God, what's this is costing them? A fortune, and they haven't got it.
You're right. I have lived in Russia for a long time over the years. I cut my journalistic teeth as a foreign correspondent in Moscow back in the early 90s. And I remember those post-Soviet days when you had currency collapses and the Soviet Union broke up and Russia was there and the economy was on its knees. The central planning system was being dismantled. And people got used to the currency collapsing and losing all their savings. Ordinary Russian people thought they were through all that. They thought that was their history. And this collapse of the ruble will put pressure on Vladimir Putin. I think that's for sure. But how about, Justin, the likes of Maersk, the likes of MSC, the likes of the Ocean Network Express. These are the biggest shipping companies in the world. They're not going to dock in Russia. And that's astonishing. It is astonishing. It's like an economic blockade.
Well, it's also a very expensive one, because you actually sit there and think, I'm sure I'm going to cut out Russia now anymore. You think, well, hang on, how much is that worth to you? Take Shell, for example, and BP. BP's issue with their investment in Gazprom was effectively going to take around about 20% of their profits away. Walking away from that, albeit they're being ordered to. But companies are going to be willing to do so, because otherwise their governments will get on their backs for it. So actually you are seeing very more effective structural issues. Governments are pretty limp when it comes to it, but if you can get the companies to do it, now you'll actually find the sharpness, and then you stop the cash, control those frozen accounts where the currencies go through, and he will be in serious trouble. Because remember, look at the pictures of him standing at the wrong end of the room with all his ministers over that end. This is not a person with a strong team around him.
I have to say, I am surprised at how Western governments have moved together to impose really harsh sanctions on Russia, but also Western companies. This is costing them serious amounts of money. They obviously think that reputation management is more important to them at the moment than the bottom line.